What happens when one of Hollywood's most intense method actors sits down with a talk show host who's never met a controversial opinion she wouldn't voice? Well, you get one of the most explosive television moments in recent memory. Christian Bale, known for his complete transformation into every role and his legendary commitment to his craft, found himself face-to-face with Joy Behar on The View, and what started as a routine promotional interview quickly spiraled into something nobody saw coming. Before we dive into this incredible confrontation that had everyone talking, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think about celebrity interviews gone wrong. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one because what Joy Behar said to Christian Bale will absolutely shock you. The tension was palpable from the moment Christian Bale walked onto the View set. He was there to promote his latest film, a biographical drama where he'd undergone another one of his famous physical transformations. The audience gave him a warm welcome, but there was something in Joy Behar's expression that suggested this wasn't going to be your typical promotional chat. As Bale settled into his chair, adjusting his perfectly tailored suit, Joy leaned forward with that familiar smirk that regular viewers know all too well. The other co-hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, and the rest of the panel, seemed relaxed. But Joy had that glint in her eye that usually meant trouble was brewing. "Christian, welcome to The View," Joy began, her voice carrying just a hint of something that wasn't quite warmth. "I have to say, watching your career has been quite the journey. All these transformations, all this method acting. Some people might say it's a bit much, don't you think?" Christian raised an eyebrow slightly, maintaining his composure. "Well, Joy, I believe in fully committing to the characters I portray. If that means physical transformation or extensive preparation, then that's what the role demands. I don't see how giving your best effort could be considered too much." Joy chuckled, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. "Oh, please, Christian, let's be honest here. Half of Hollywood thinks you're completely over the top. I mean, losing 60 pounds for one movie, gaining 70 for another. It's almost like you're showing off, isn't it? Like you're trying to prove you're better than everyone else." The studio audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the usual promotional banter they were expecting. Christian's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but his voice remained steady. "I think you might be misunderstanding my approach to acting, Joy. It's not about showing off or proving anything to anyone. It's about serving the story and honoring the character. When I played Dick Cheney, I needed to embody that man physically and mentally. When I played a machinist suffering from insomnia, I needed to understand what that does to a person's body and mind." Right, Joy interrupted, waving her hand dismissively. "But don't you think there's something a little narcissistic about all this? I mean, you could just act, couldn't you? Use your imagination? Instead, you put your body through these extreme changes, and then everyone has to talk about how dedicated you are. It's very convenient, don't you think?" Whoopi tried to interject. "Joy, I think Christian is just explaining his process," but Joy held up a hand. No, Whoopi, I think this is important. Christian, I've been in this business a long time, and I've seen a lot of actors come and go. Some of them are genuinely talented, and some of them are just really good at creating buzz around themselves. Which category would you put yourself in?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Christian's hands, which had been resting calmly on the armrest, tightened slightly. His voice when he responded was controlled, but there was steel underneath it. "Joy, I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish here, but I came on this show to discuss my work, not to defend my professional choices to someone who clearly has already made up her mind about me. Every actor has their own process. This is mine. I don't need to justify it to you or anyone else." Joy leaned back in her chair, clearly enjoying herself. "Oh. So now I'm the bad guy for asking tough questions? This is The View, Christian, not some puff-piece interview where everyone tells you how wonderful you are. If you can't handle a little honest criticism, maybe you should stick to those controlled press junkets." Sarah Haynes looked visibly uncomfortable and tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground. "Christian, can you tell us about working with your co-stars on this new film?" But Joy wasn't finished. "Actually, Sarah, I'd like to know more about Christian's famous temper. We've all heard the stories about you screaming at crew members, berating people on set. Is that part of your method too? Or are you just difficult to work with?" The studio fell silent. This had crossed a line, and everyone knew it. Christian's eyes flashed, and for a moment, you could see the intensity that he brings to his most powerful performances. "Excuse me?" His voice was quiet, but it carried more menace than if he'd shouted. "Are you seriously sitting here? On national television? Suggesting that I abuse the people I work with? That's a pretty serious accusation, Joy." "Well, there have been reports," Joy said with a shrug, clearly relishing the reaction she was getting. "The famous outburst on the Terminator set, for instance? Not exactly professional behavior, was it?" Christian stood up slowly, his full height imposing even in the casual setting of the talk show. "That incident was nearly 15 years ago, and it was a private moment that was unfortunately recorded and leaked. I apologized for it then, and I learned from it. But for you to sit here and imply that I'm abusive to cast and crew members based on one incident from over a decade ago is not just unprofessional, it's irresponsible." Joy seemed to realize she might have pushed too far, but her pride wouldn't let her back down. "I'm just saying what people are thinking, Christian. Maybe if you weren't so intense all the time, people wouldn't have these concerns." That was the breaking point. Christian's eyes narrowed, and when he spoke, his voice carried the kind of controlled fury that had made him famous in roles like Batman and American Psycho. "You know what, Joy? I've sat here and listened to you attack my professionalism, my character, and my work ethic. I've tried to respond respectfully because I thought we were having a conversation. But you're not interested in a conversation, are you? You're interested in creating drama for your show." Joy's eyes lit up, clearly thinking she had him exactly where she wanted him. "Oh, so now you're going to lecture me about television? I've been doing this longer than you've been acting, sweetheart. If you can't handle a few tough questions, maybe you should go back to playing dress-up." The condescension in her voice was unmistakable, and the other hosts looked mortified. Whoopi tried again to intervene. "Okay. Let's just take a step back here and—" "No," Christian interrupted, his voice rising slightly but still controlled. "Let her finish. I want everyone to hear exactly what kind of person Joy Behar really is. Because this isn't journalism, Joy. This isn't asking tough questions. This is you trying to tear down someone you've never worked with, never met before today, based on tabloid nonsense and your own preconceived notions." Joy crossed her arms defiantly. "I'm asking questions that viewers want answered. You Hollywood types think you can just waltz in here, promote your movies, and everyone should worship at your feet. Well, not on my show." "Your show?" Christian let out a bitter laugh. "I thought this was called The View, not the Joy Behar Hour. And for the record, I didn't waltz in here expecting worship. I came here expecting basic professional courtesy, which apparently is too much to ask from someone who's made a career out of being deliberately controversial." The audience was completely silent now, watching this train wreck unfold in real time. Joy's face was flushing red, and she leaned forward aggressively. "Controversial? I tell the truth, Christian. Something Hollywood doesn't seem to value very much these days. The truth is that you're known for being difficult, you're known for being demanding, and you're known for thinking you're better than everyone else. If that makes me controversial for pointing it out, then so be it." Christian took a step closer to Joy's chair, not threateningly, but with the kind of presence that filled the entire studio. "The truth? You want to talk about truth? The truth is that you've spent the last 10 minutes trying to humiliate me on national television because you think it makes good television. The truth is that you've made assumptions about me without knowing anything about who I am as a person or how I actually conduct myself professionally." "Oh, please," Joy scoffed. "Don't play the victim here. You chose to be a public figure. You chose to take roles that require these extreme transformations. You can't have it both ways, Christian. You can't court publicity when it benefits you and then cry foul when someone asks you real questions about your methods." Sarah Haynes finally found her voice. "Joy, I think maybe we should focus on the positive aspects of Christian's work. His performances have been incredible. And—" Joy turned on her co-host with surprising venom. "Sarah, I appreciate your input, but I can handle this interview myself. Thank you very much." This is exactly the problem with celebrity culture today. Everyone's so afraid to ask the hard questions because they might hurt someone's feelings. Christian shook his head in disgust. "This isn't about hard questions, Joy. This is about you trying to create a viral moment at my expense. You're not a journalist. You're not asking hard questions. You're just being cruel. And the worst part is, you seem to enjoy it. Cruel? Joy's voice got higher. I'm being cruel by asking about your well-documented behavior? I'm being cruel by questioning whether your methods are really necessary or if they're just attention-seeking? That's not cruel. That's holding people accountable. Accountable for what exactly? Christian's voice was getting louder now, his famous intensity finally breaking through his professional demeanor. For taking my job seriously? For preparing thoroughly for roles? For caring about the quality of my work? What exactly am I supposed to be accountable for, Joy? Joy stood up now too, matching his energy. For thinking you're special. For acting like your way is the only way. For making other actors look lazy by comparison with your over-the-top preparations. The studio audience gasped audibly. Even Joy seemed to realize she'd gone too far with that last comment, but she was too committed to the confrontation to back down now. Christian stared at her for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was deadly quiet. So that's what this is really about. You think I make other actors look bad by actually caring about my craft? You think dedication is showing off. You think preparation is pretentious. Well, let me tell you something, Joy. I've worked with hundreds of actors over the years, and the vast majority of them are incredibly dedicated professionals who bring their own unique approaches to their work. The idea that my preparation somehow diminishes their efforts is not only wrong, it's insulting to everyone in this industry. Joy wasn't backing down. Oh, spare me the sanctimonious speech about the craft of acting. You're not curing cancer, Christian. You're pretending to be other people for money. Maybe a little humility would serve you well. That was it. Christian's face went completely cold, and he looked at Joy with the kind of contempt usually reserved for his most villainous characters. Humility? You want to lecture me about humility? You've spent the last 15 minutes trying to embarrass me on television. You've made baseless accusations about my character. You've dismissed my work as showing off. And now you're telling me that what I do for a living isn't important. And you want to talk to me about humility? Whoopi finally stood up, her voice firm. Okay, I think we need to take a commercial break. Christian, Joy, let's all just... No, Christian said sharply. I'm not done. Joy, since you seem to think you know so much about acting and what it takes to do this job well, why don't you enlighten us? Tell us about your extensive experience as a performer. Tell us about all the challenging roles you've taken on, all the characters you've brought to life. Joy's face was now bright red. I don't have to be an actor to criticize acting, just like I don't have to be a politician to criticize politics. It's called having an opinion, Christian. Look it up. An opinion based on what? Christian shot back. Based on gossip? Based on tabloid headlines? Based on your personal dislike of people who take their work seriously? That's not an opinion, Joy, that's prejudice. Joy's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, clearly not expecting to be called out so directly, but her pride wouldn't let her admit defeat. Prejudice? That's rich coming from someone who probably thinks everyone who doesn't worship at the altar of method acting is beneath them. You want to talk about prejudice, Christian? Try looking in a mirror. Christian let out a laugh that had no humor in it whatsoever. You know what, Joy? You're absolutely right about one thing. I am prejudiced. I'm prejudiced against people who tear others down for their own entertainment. I'm prejudiced against people who use their platform to spread negativity and misinformation. And I'm especially prejudiced against people who lack the basic decency to treat their guests with respect. The other hosts were desperately trying to signal for a commercial break, but the producers seemed to realize they had television gold on their hands and were letting it play out. Joy's face was now a shade of red that probably wasn't healthy. Basic decency? Joy's voice was reaching a pitch that made everyone wince. You want to lecture me about decency? You're the one who screamed at a lighting technician because he walked through your shot. You're the one who has a reputation for being impossible to work with. Christian's composure finally cracked completely. That's it. I'm done with this nonsense. You keep bringing up one incident from 15 years ago, like it defines my entire career. You know what defines my career, Joy? 25 years of professional work. Dozens of films. Hundreds of colleagues who would vouch for my character and work ethic. But you'd rather focus on one bad day from over a decade ago, because it fits your narrative. Joy stood up and pointed at him accusingly. Your narrative? You're the one who came on this show thinking you could charm your way through another puff-piece interview. Well, newsflash, Christian, this is the real world where people ask real questions. Real questions? Christian's voice was now at full volume, and the intensity that had made him famous was on full display. You call personal attacks real questions? You call baseless accusations real questions? Let me ask you a real question, Joy. When was the last time you created something meaningful? When was the last time you put yourself on the line for your art? When was the last time you did anything other than tear down people who are actually trying to make a difference in the world? The studio was dead silent except for the sound of Christian's breathing. Joy's face went from red to pale as the weight of his words hit her. But she wasn't done yet. Make a difference? Joy's voice was shaking with rage now. You think making movies makes a difference? You think pretending to be other people is changing the world? Get over yourself, Christian. You're an entertainer, nothing more. That was the final straw. Christian looked at Joy with pure disgust, then turned to address the camera directly, ignoring her completely. You know what? This is exactly what's wrong with media today. Instead of celebrating excellence, instead of encouraging people to strive for their best, we tear each other down. We take cheap shots. We reward negativity and controversy over substance and quality. He turned back to Joy, his voice deadly calm now. You want to know what makes a difference, Joy? Inspiring people. Showing them that it's okay to care deeply about your work. That it's okay to push yourself to be better than you were yesterday. That's what makes a difference. Joy was sputtering now, clearly out of ammunition. Oh, please, spare me the inspirational speech. You're not some kind of hero, Christian. You're just another actor with an ego problem. Christian picked up his jacket from the back of his chair and started putting it on with deliberate calm. You know what, Joy? You're absolutely right. I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who takes pride in their work. Someone who believes that if you're going to do something, you should do it right. Someone who thinks that respect should be a two-way street. Apparently, that makes me the problem here. Whoopi finally found her voice again. Christian, please, let's just take a breath and... Christian held up his hand politely to Whoopi. Whoopi, I have tremendous respect for you and what you've accomplished. Sarah, you tried to keep things civil. I appreciate that. But I won't sit here and let someone attack my character and my professionalism just to boost their ratings. He turned back to Joy one final time. Joy, I came here today prepared to have a conversation about my work, about the film I'm promoting, about the craft of acting. Instead, you decided to turn this into a personal attack. You've shown your audience exactly who you are today, and I think they're smart enough to draw their own conclusions. Joy made one last desperate attempt to regain control of the situation. Running away, Christian? Can't handle a little criticism? Maybe next time you'll think twice before accepting an interview with someone who actually asks the hard questions. Christian stopped at the edge of the set and turned back, his voice carrying across the silent studio with crystal clarity. Joy. There's a difference between hard questions and harassment. There's a difference between journalism and bullying, and there's a difference between having an opinion and being deliberately cruel. You've confused all three today, and frankly, I feel sorry for anyone who has to work with you on a regular basis. The camera caught Joy's face as those words hit home, and for just a moment her mask slipped. You could see the hurt and anger, but also something that might have been shame. Christian adjusted his jacket and looked directly into the camera one more time. To anyone watching this who works in any creative field, don't let people like this discourage you from pursuing excellence. Don't let them make you feel bad for caring about your craft. The world needs more people who are willing to go the extra mile, not fewer. And with that, he walked off the set, leaving Joy Behar standing there in stunned silence, the other hosts scrambling to figure out how to continue the show, and an audience that had just witnessed one of the most brutal takedowns in daytime television history. The camera held on Joy's face for a few more seconds before finally cutting to commercial, but the damage was already done. Christian Bale had just exposed everything that was wrong with modern celebrity culture and left Joy Behar looking exactly like what she was, a bully who had finally picked on the wrong person. What did you think of this incredible confrontation? Have you ever seen a celebrity handle a hostile interview this well? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe for more shocking celebrity moments like this one. Did Christian Bale handle this situation perfectly? Or should he have walked away sooner?